good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome everyone from around the world. I am Carla Scipio. I am the leader, the founder of the Women in My Garden. And I want to introduce the first woman that stood up and answered the call to come on and be the one that everybody's going to look up to, and the one that everybody's going to say, "Ooh, if me and Allison did it, Pastor Mia Allison did it, I can do it too." I am going to share my story, and I'm going to encourage another woman out there that, hey, you don't do life by yourself. We do life together as a community. So, Pastor Mia Allison, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to come on and be that person that that starts it going, get the ball moving, get it running. And I want you to share your story. When I think about how I met you, because I think we were working on a committee together to do something um, in honor of, and actually to bring women who are HIV positive and women who are HIV, what did you say, neutral? You got to tell me what the term is now, because things change so much. Together
Yes,
in a together in a space where we can show that it's a diagnosis, but that's all it is. That we have to support each other. We got to make this ordinary conversations when we talk about life and when we talk about HIV or when we talk about any chronic disease. So
yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna let you take away, and then go ahead and share your story.
Well, good morning, Carla. First, let me thank you for just thinking of me. Um, I'm just a simple country girl that just decided to live. I'll put it that way.
Mhm.
Um, I thank God because truly that's the person that kept me.
Yeah.
Because when I didn't want to keep myself, he said no. I threw in the towel. He threw me back a beach towel.
Yeah.
So, um, but I'm the mother of three, the grandmother of 15, and the great grandmother of one.
All right. Okay. You beat
Um,
me back.
so so there's so much more, for me to live for.
Mhm.
I tell any woman, any man at this point, you know your body better than anybody, and if something is off, check it. Um, but a lot of times we get so engulfed with our own personal issues that are going on, we don't adhere to that. We want to be something for everybody else but ourselves, and that was one of my biggest issues. Is I felt that I had something to prove. I was a black woman coming from I won't say a rural little city town, but a little city town. And, I wanted to make something out of myself so that I could leave a legacy for my children and show them that you don't have to live off welfare. You don't have to live in the projects.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I thought I was there. Um, but I was at moved to New York. So I lived in New York for over 30 years. Actually, that's where God dealt with me in New York. Sometimes God will take you out of the norm and put you
Mhm.
somewhere else so that he
Mhm.
can actually deal with you. And when I was in New York, I started attending a um, a Methodist church because my aunt was going to a Methodist church. And AME, they have a method of doing things. And women are still with, but that's across the board, are not considered equally in ministry.
Yes.
um but so I guess you could say I felt that calling as pastorship because I had walked with my pastor and I saw the stuff that she was had to go through. um and so I did not want to be a pastor. I didn't want it, but I'm glad that God didn't give up on me because it saved my life. um and so I started off as a usher. I went from usher, missionary, choir director.
Mm, mm.
uh, and minister because I did not want it. And I remember when I finally did accept the call, um, I literally, because again, I had saw everything that she had went through, and I'll never forget it. I used to live between the ocean and the bay in New York,
Mm.
and the day before, the night before I was to preach my trial sermon, I went to the ocean and tried to commit suicide.
Wow.
I
Wow.
just didn't want it.
Wow.
I didn't want it. Um, and it was so crazy because when I went out there was nobody out there at the beach. So I'm like, okay, I can get this done. I can do it. And I started running in the water. And as far as I would run in the water, it seemed like the water was going back. And
Mm.
I kept going in the water. I kept going in the water. And then I got mad. And I honestly, I cussed God. I said, damn, I can't even kill myself right. And all of a sudden, I remember seemed like I was just going spinning. And when I came to my senses, I was laying face down, prostrate in the sand.
Wow.
And I said, okay, God, you know what? You won. You got this.
Mhm.
You got it. You got it. And I've been running ever since for him.
Amen.
And I do believe that that's what saved my life because even when I was in the hospital, because I got the diagnosis in the hospital, I had again trying to do everything on my own and everything. I had just purchased a home, and my daughter sent her boyfriend over to help me move furniture, and he found me unconscious in the hallway.
Wow. Wow.
I was in Grady for 5 months.
Whoa.
Yeah, they had told my children I wasn't gonna make it, and I memory was compromised. I didn't know remember anybody. I couldn't walk, couldn't talk. Um, and they said that first my diagnosis was a stroke. They say I had two strokes back to back.
Hmm.
And but whatever they were doing, it wasn't working because I wasn't coming back around. And so my mother, she remembered a gentleman that I had dated there, and she said that he had been diagnosed with AIDS. Tell your mother, tell them to check your mother for AIDS.
Wow. Mm.
And that's what they did. And I never forget a Wednesday. It's crazy because I can't remember what happened yesterday. But I
Mm.
remember this Wednesday morning, it was three of them. They came in the room and it was two men and a lady. And they said, Miss Allison, we have some good news for you. We believe we've pinpointed on what's been hindering. So we're going to be able to, get you. We had to confer with somebody in California, but we know what it is now. We know how to handle it. And by that time, the lady that came and sat on the bed, she said, we tested you for AIDS, and you don't have AIDS, but you do have HIV.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Who you talking to? And I couldn't, it wouldn't come out. But I'm like, that can't, no, no, do it again, test it again, because I know, no, no, because I haven't been, no, I don't get out like that. So what are you talking about? You know, no, 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 no. And they did do it again, and so now I'm sitting there because now, mind you, prior I had did some of the work in New York, and I was doing work here, um, encouraging women, giving them support, um, letting them know that you can live even after this. And now I'm on that other side of the table,
Right. Right.
and I'm like, okay, God, I'm not understanding this because everything that you've asked me to do, I've done it. Every way you've asked me to move, I've moved, and now this happens to me. And I never forget one night I was laying there trying to pull the IVs out because I said, you know what? If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die here. They're gonna take me out in the bag. I don't.
Mm.
I can't fathom what is going on here. And I never forget the Lord came to me laying there in Grady Hospital, and he said, "I didn't do it to you. I did it for you."
Mm,
Wait a
mm.
minute, what you mean you did this for me? I know the stigma is out there and everything. What do you? But I understand it now because I can effectively relate to someone now. Yes, you can have the doctors, you can have the professionals, but if you've never walked in these shoes, you really don't know the ramifications of this. I trust my doctor. I trust what she says. But when you talk to somebody that is diagnosed, that has had those feelings, that has did, and then even after that, sis, I lost everything
Wow.
because my children were more concerned with me being in the hospital. So bills didn't get paid. I got out of the hospital, and 4 weeks later, the marshals came and set my stuff on the road.
Wow.
So I had to start all over from scratch. But I
Wow.
thank God that all my catering equipment, everything, all my clergy attire, and I'm like, okay, God, we still going through this. I'm thinking I done lost,
Yeah.
I done found out everything. But He said, I'm making you anew.
Mm.
And a lot of times we don't understand that even certain items we have carry spirits with them.
Come on, somebody.
And so there were things sometimes, and I'm very cautious now, even at when somebody wants to give me something, because sometimes they may not even know it, but there may be different spirits attached to it. Um, I had to learn me all over again. And when I say I had to learn me, people would ask me, "What do you like?" Well, it don't matter. But I want to get you something. Whatever you get me. No, but no, what do you like? And for so long, I had been trying to help everybody else and be there for everybody else. And I didn't even know me.
Mm. Mm.
And so within these past 5 years, I had to learn who I was, what I liked. Um, you see me even this morning when I got up, I was trying to think of something I could throw on real quick and whatever. And if you notice, I have the butterflies on.
Hmm.
Butterflies
Yes.
are they're very signalful for me.
Hmm.
Butterflies go through a transition before a transformation before they become beautiful.
Right. That cocoon. They go through that cocoon.
And you don't know what's going on in that cocoon.
Right.
It's dark in the cocoon. You don't even know if you're gonna make it out of the cocoon.
Right.
But I'm so glad that I made it out of the cocoon. And I believe that everything that I went through is to help me with what I'm doing now, working with women. I'm a Heather Ivy ambassador, and we help women, we encourage them, we give them linkage to care, and I do drive-bys. Um, to see, just to let you know, you're not in this by yourself, and it's beyond this, and the medication and everything has come has is better than it was. I went to conferences a couple of years ago, and there were women in there that had been living in with 20 and 25 years, and they were saying when they first got medicine, they were sick. The medicine was making them sick, and now it's even different now because you have injectables and everything now. But I'm still doing the pills because I don't like needles. I have
Hmm.
enough needle stuff going on as it goes. But I am, I want to say, with after the diagnosis, um, it, it 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 actually introduced me to who I really was and who I am, and I'm able to now to leave a legacy that it didn't break me,
Hmm.
it didn't deter me,
Hmm.
um, uh, and that I can show another woman, especially a woman in leadership. Again, at the conferences that I went to, one of the things that they were saying is I had one lady walk up to me and she heard another lady call me pastor. And so she walked over to me and she said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "You won't be offended, will you?" I said, "No." She said, "Are you a real pastor?" Um, about as real as they can get us. I've been licensed and ordained. I went to the seminary. Yeah, I think I believe I am. She said because they don't talk about this in the churches.
True.
And I thought about it, and I was like, something. And she said, and we had a conversation afterwards. And when I got back, that's one of the things I implemented in my ministry is that we talk about HIV and AIDS. Actually, that next women's conference, I brought in Aid Atlanta to talk about it because if you notice, there and I don't know why it, but I guess I do the stigma that's behind it. But if you go into seminaries in these congregations, and one of the things I tell them, I guarantee you in your congregation, I don't care if you got 10 to 1,000. There is somebody that's either diagnosed or know somebody that's diagnosed.
Yes.
So we talk about everything else in the church. So
Yes.
why are we not talking about either prevention or care afterwards?
Yes.
And so that's what I do now. I go around whichever ministry is open to me. Um, and
Mm.
I share my story, but I also provide them with linkage to care because there's so much out there for them. You don't have to go through this alone. Um, I've been notified of people that have died alone, and I can only imagine how they can feel
Mm.
just being there. You may have lived your life vibrantly, but you have to die alone because you don't want to tell anybody what your diagnosis is. There are women now that I'm encountering that are living with it, but they have not disclosed their diagnosis because they don't want to tell their family. And I'm fortunate that my ministry as well as my family, they were my backbone. They supported me. They kept me. Um, they encouraged me, um, and they would not let me give up. Because at one point, I did, even after the diagnosis, when I went back to church, to ministry, I was sitting in the back. And my leader at the time would come out the pulpit and walk back there. He said, "This is not your place. Get back in your place."
So what can we do? Because there was you talked about so many different things. How can we normalize HIV? Um, a lot of people think it's a death sentence. Then we deal with the stigma. You mentioned that from family, from friends, from faith-based organizations. A lot of people think it's a sexual, equated to promiscuity. But I tell my patients, I'm a nurse. I tell my patients, hey, it's the luck of the draw. It took them one time. So how can we normalize this in society? What can we do um, as women of faith or women, period, for the ones that are neutral to support those that are HIV positive? What can we do to change this dialogue?
One I would say is education, because a lot of individuals are basing their comments on ignorance. They don't really know the facts, and you. One of the things that I do with my mom now, when we talk, I give her statistics and I give her viable information because again, they don't really know the information. So I think the information, getting the information out there. We have town hall meetings for everything else. Let's have a town hall meeting and discuss the different things pertaining to this, the medications, housing, living longer, mental health. You have a lot of individuals out there that are dealing with mental health and needs therapy.
Right, right. Tell me how you dealt. You mentioned mental health, and one of the things I noticed with a lot of the women. Well, first I'm gonna say this: I've had a lot of younger African American women or women of African descent test positive for HIV. A lot of them try not to even acknowledge it or talk about it. They go through the denial stage and they stick in denial, yet still they still having unprotected sex. They still living, but kind of like in limbo. And I felt like we need to create spaces because their issues are different. Because how long have you been living with HIV, and what are your advice, and how can we help this new generation of millennials that are testing positive, that are still dealing with some of the issues that you dealt with, as it relates to stigma, as it relates to access to care, as it relates to medication, as it relates to mental health.
One of the things I tell anybody, especially like you said earlier, for us in the African American gender, um, when you say therapy, the first thing come out, I ain't crazy. I'm questioning that because um, therapy doesn't mean that you're crazy. It just means that you want to balance your mentality with everything that's going on in the world today,
Right.
with health, with the well, who's the United States president now and everything. Um, One of the things we have to make that uh, we have that give me 1 second. I do apologize. I'm in a conference call right now. I'll call you back. That's my daughter. But one of the things is getting the mental health services that you need so that you can balance yourself. You have to be balanced. And if you're not balanced, that means you're imbalanced and you're not operating effectively or healthy. So I was diagnosed in 2017. However, we know that the it lays dormant for 10 years before sometimes it actually surfaces.
Right.
Technically, I don't know how long it was there. I know that it was discovered in 2017. And one of the things that I would say, because I know for me, it took me a year to digest the fact that I was diagnosed.
Yeah.
After being there for everybody else and everything, it took me a year or more before I could digest that I actually had it. And then it came to me, no, you have it. It don't have you. You have it because you have the ability to get the medication, do what is needed, and then be a prime example of life after a diagnosis. And so I would tell anybody, like I tell the women now, digest it, but don't take too long. Digest it, but don't take too long because now you have it in your hand. It's up to you what you do with it,
Hmm.
and you can live. I can't expect anybody to treat me better than I treat myself. So I got to make sure one that I know all the information about it. I got to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to stay undetectable. I got to make sure that I'm doing all that I need to do so that I can give out good information, the right information. At the same time, I got to maintain my health, and making sure that I'm healthy. So I would tell anybody, before you can do anybody, do you.
So self care, self love. Those. So in probably in five, because we have a little time. In 5 minutes, give me the nut, the thing, the takeaways that you want them to take away from being diagnosed with a life changing disease. Is it something? Well, life changing infection is something like, it's even worse than divorce, I would even equate it to debt as it relates to a person. So that's it's a really life changing stuff. How you took that ball that, that that you were handed and turned it into something positive, not just for you taking care of yourself and loving on yourself, but actually helping other women, other people that were in need. So I want you to speak on that as we leave and we end. I want you to give them the takeaway right there.
I had to first understand the ball that I was carrying, the ball that was given to me, because you can't run a football on a basketball court.
Hmm.
So I had to understand the demographics of what I was carrying, how I needed to carry it, and how I needed to even mindset and plan on how I was going to carry it. So I would tell anyone, know the diagnosis. Know that yes, it's life changing, but it's not a life sentence. It's not what oh, I'm going to die at this time. No, only God knows when that time is. But know that you can live through this and you can live a healthy and vibrant life with this. But it's up to you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. And tell us where someone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you? Tell us a little bit about Heather Ivy Society, where you are an ambassador, the things that Heather Ivy Society does. Just share a little bit about that, please.
Okay. Well, how you can find me. It's I'm on Facebook. Uh, I would give my number is out there. Everybody has my number. But you can. I think you have my number. You can post it. Heather Ivy Society is actually a organization that was put together by an infectious disease doctor, Dr. Zandrietta Thames Cook, and I started going to her with my neighbor. My neighbor was actually going to her, and I was not satisfied with the care that I was getting where I was, and so I started going to her, and we started talking, and she said, "You know, you would be a good ambassador." At the time, I didn't know what she was talking about, and Heather Ivy Group, um, the person that actually trained me was a lady by the name of Hermione Bell. Hermione was actually the one, she was a nurse there, and she was also over the ambassadors, you could say. They have Heather Ivy. Heather Ivy is a group of women that come together. They bring in professionals, a mental health specialist, um, different specialists come in and give the women information that they need. Um, if you need help, if you need don't have the transportation to get to the meetings, we provide transportation for you to get to the meetings. There's always a good meal at the meetings, but there's also a good meal at the meeting. When I say that, that's two meals because you're getting a natural meal and also I guess you could say a mental meal because you're getting the food that you need. And most of the women that come, they say that they haven't experienced an environment such as that, and we know that that's something that is needed even with your diagnosis.
So that's Heather, Heather, right? Ivy,
Yes,
Ivy
yes,
Society. So the
yes.
Heather Ivy Society. We did really well. You did really well, Mia. I want to thank you so much again for being a woman in my garden. You are a flower in my garden, and you're the first flower that came and stood up and shared your story. I'm not sure which flower you want to be. What flower you and I know you talk about butterflies, but butterflies love flowers. So which flower are you? What kind of flower are you?
I want to say that I'm a lily
Okay, why a lily?
because lilies are beautiful. They're vibrant,
Mm.
um, and they go through a lot as well. So I would definitely say a lily.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor Mia Allison, the Lily. The scripture talks about lily in the valley. Thank you for being a lily in this valley. I thank you for pouring into other women. I thank you for being courageous to step up and not be ashamed of your journey, not be ashamed of the ministry that was handed to you. I pray that you will continue to sow into the lives of women, not just here locally, but globally, across the universe. And I pray God's blessings on you. And thank you so much.
Thank you for even thinking of me.
Yes.